Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Thanks to Champion Salon and Barber. Top 5 questions after the Wild College football weekend. Number 5, do we need to change our thinking about Texas A&M? I thought their season was about to spiral out of control, and now, guys, I'm looking at their schedule. If Zach Calzada he doesn't have to equal that performance necessarily with the opponents they have coming up, like Missouri and South Carolina, but if he can continue to be consistent and the offensive line can keep him upright, then maybe their season hasn't spiraled out of control.
You have A-Chain, you have Spiller, you've got the tight end that's bigger than any human being I've ever seen at tight end. You've got a few weapons. You had, who's the kid, Smith, who caught the touchdown that tied the game. They've got some weapons. They got a young offensive line, but they really held up against Alabama, at least young in a couple of positions. Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My thoughts didn't change that much before this. Like, I definitely thought that, I asked Owen last week, like, is being where they are, given the injury to Haynes King and all that, is it, like, kind of a disappointment given what expectations are? And, he kind of said, like, yeah, sort of, kind of. And then that obviously gets blown out of the water with the win over Alabama. But I didn't think that they were going to be, like, off the rails entirely because Haynes King wasn't proven. Like,
yeah.
It's not like they lost – a 4-year starter. They lost a kid who was a brand new starter early in the season, so I don't know that there's really a huge difference there. But, anybody that thought they were down and out for sure have to rearrange that thinking. They'll be favorites against Mizzou and South Carolina, and then, we'll see what happens after that with Auburn and company. But, maybe so.
All right, number 4, are BYU's national championships hopes dashed?
Yeah.
They pretty much are.
Yep.
I do think, though, that you should get – they're an independent, and they're playing a fantastic schedule. Pac-12, Big 12. Most people would kill for that schedule, but wouldn't even want to do it if they didn't have to. And they're doing it and doing it well, but I would think they're probably still comfortably in a New Year's Six bowl right now if everything's equal. But that was really great news for Cincinnati the other day, because if you had both those teams finish undefeated, which, again, it's really hard to do, but if that was the stare down of undefeated non-P5 teams, then BYU would probably get the nod over Cincinnati because their schedule's better.
They won 3 or 4 games against the Pac-12. Arizona State's in the top 20, 4, and then they would win a game against Baylor at the time is 4-5.
And then have USC at the end of the year, so it's not good, but still,
I'm going to say, yes, they are dashed because I don't know that they're going to win out the rest of their games. I'm picking Baylor this weekend for sure, and that's not a knock on BYU. It's just based on everything that I've seen. I'm going to pick Baylor at home after that performance they had last week. But, national championship hopes. If their name was Alabama, no. But their name is BYU.
That's exactly right, and they lost to a group of 5 team, even though Boise State, even their record was 2-3. Oh, another note. Jeremiah Dickey, their AD, is going to join us Thursday on this show. So that's just another guest for later in the week.
And I was going to say as well, it's not like they lost to a 4-0 team or they lost to a Boise State team that's like 500.
Number 3, can Iowa keep this up? Can they keep this up?
They are about to have to play in the same division. Penn State, they just played them. They still have Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State. Now, I don't know, again, they're all in the top 10, but it's going to be hard, but they play a game where they're not going to be 2 up or 2 down. Now, they can't turn it over, but they just play so damn hard and so tough.
Yeah, the Big Ten's about to get a lot of fun with. I know we've already had a couple of the crossover matchups as far as like the better teams, but it's about to really ramp up. They can, but I don't trust the offense. I think defensively, there's a lot to love, but offensively, I still have some questions about how consistent they can be and how good they can be. They've been good enough so far, but that's preventing me from going all the way and going full-blown playoff prediction for them at this point.
Yeah. Number 2, what's Bama's future now? Do they have another mulligan? We talked to Pete Thamel about it. Do they have another mulligan where they can, because they are Bama, that they can get a second loss? Because what if they lose in an all-timer in the SEC championship game to Georgia? do we trust the committee not to really want to see that game again and pretend like A&M never happened?
Oh, no, I don't trust the committee at all.
Yeah.
It's all about money, so Alabama will get in if is even a small percentage chance to.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong, college football, with having a playoff. And I am a huge Nick Saban fan. I love listening to his press conferences throughout the week. There's nothing wrong with college football playing a college football playoff without someone like Alabama. It can happen. I mean, back in the 70s, Oklahoma and USC and Alabama didn't play in all of them. In the 90s, it wasn't always Florida State, Nebraska. I mean, it seemed like it, but it wasn't. There's nothing wrong with the fact that Alabama can be moved out of the equation. It's almost as if, okay, well, that didn't quite count if they win. If they win the rest of the way, that means also they beat Georgia, among others. So, okay, I get that. But if they lose another game, they got to be treated the same as others.
Well, their remaining schedule is not very good at all. They have Arkansas, and that's really the only team I would think all that highly of. I mean, yeah, LSU's coming up. Their coach is about to be fired. Yeah. So, I mean, who cares? Mississippi State, whatever, I mean, like versus Bama. So, yeah, I mean, other than the Arkansas game later in the year, and then I guess the Iron Bowl is always worth a whirl, and you never know what's going to happen in there. So those final 2 weeks could get a little dicey maybe, but yeah, I think their future's bright. I think their future's fine, and I think right now I'd probably still expect them to be a playoff team, but we will see. There is a little crack in the armor, at least early on in the season, which is kind of fun to see.
All right, number one, who's Oklahoma's QB? I think, we've kind of answered this. It's probably got to be Caleb Williams at this point.
It has to be Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
It has to be. It has to be him after Saturday. And I don't know what that means for Rattler or whatever. I don't really care. Spencer Rattler's gotten plenty of opportunities. Again, you got benched 2 years in a row in the biggest game on your schedule. So that's not on Lincoln Riley or on play calling or on that's on Spencer Rattler for not having his head screwed on right in those games and performing well enough. So I think, one guy nearly got you blown out in embarrassing fashion. And it wasn't all on Rattler, of course. I mean, OU defense takes some blame and others. But after Saturday, it has to be Caleb Williams. You at least have to see what this team can do with him at the helm from the start. And then if it doesn't work out, that's the big problem that I see potentially on the horizon is what if Caleb Williams as a starter isn't so hot, the first one or two times out there, and then you have suddenly, is Rattler back in the, how does that all remain, and how do you keep that from getting toxic? But I do think you have to start Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and bonus question.
He's done a pretty good job of trying to just kind of kick that can right down the road. He also said, I think, if you don't mind today, he's not so sure that they'll publicly announce who's going to start in the next game.
What do y'all
TCU.
think?
Yeah, I think Caleb.
There's got to be some reward for that performance on Saturday. I think you got to he's got the hot hand. You weren't doing anything prior to him coming in really offensively. Like Rattler had some throws here and there where you go, wow. But they haven't run the ball that well. You know what I mean? Like the running game won that football game at the end. And it's because UT had to account for Caleb Williams and what he was doing. And so I think you've got to roll with what worked well on Saturday for you until it doesn't work anymore.
You have film on him, which they didn't. And you have, no matter what you could think at times of Gary Patterson, he will find some weaknesses. It will be fun to watch him mix X's and O's with Patterson this weekend.
Bonus question, what's happened to the Texas football Twitter account?
Yeah, it has been 50 hours. 50 hours since UT football last tweeted. They last tweeted about the game-tying touchdown, and we know that stuff happened after that, but not in Texas's world, because that's the last thing that's happened to the Texas Twitter account was that game-tying touchdown at the end. They are MIA, and hope they're okay.
All right. Thank you very much. I was going to say something about Wilder and Fury. We'll say that tomorrow. Yeah. Craig also is off the radar. Ty Detmer tomorrow. Mac Rhodes tomorrow. Thank you, Armstrong.